main focus point concerns this question. Is the US dollar really on the brink of collapse? Now, thanks to social media, it's very easy to find content out there that is swearing that the dollar's demise is just right around the corner. But like most things, the reality is somewhere in the middle of complete chaos, complete end to the dollar system, and those that think nothing has changed. Obviously, a lot has changed. But how much impact will it ultimately have in the near term as well as the long term? And I think those two questions are very different. The dollar will not implode overnight for a few big reasons. Now, I would say the number one reason is trade. The vast majority of trade still happens in US dollar. And number two, debt. The vast majority of debt that's out there, not just in the United States, but around the world, is actually denominated in dollars as well. So if you're a corporation operating overseas and you do business in multiple currencies, typically a lender doesn't want to expose themselves to that currency risk. They want you to take on that currency risk. The company, the entity, or the government, right? There's government entities that are borrowing in US dollars as well. Think of emerging market countries, for example. And just like when you have a mortgage and you need to pay back that mortgage, you need dollars. Now, for most people, you earn money in dollars, right? Your salary is in dollars. Your income from your pension or social security or whatever, it's in dollars. But what if, for whatever reason, your income was in euros or Swiss francs or Chinese yuan or the yen? Suddenly, what do you have to do? You have to take that currency and translate it into dollars. That's demand for dollars and pay back that mortgage. So that's a big factor that very few people consider. Okay, so it creates consistent demand for dollars. Now, lately, it's true. The US dollar has been behaving like an emerging market currency. Higher bond yields isn't creating a stronger currency like it historically has. It's actually creating a weaker currency. Now, the tariffs are a big factor in this. It's had a notable impact on demand for US dollars and global trade. And this certainly could threaten the dollar's status. But that's the big word there is threaten. And things can change, but they typically change very slowly. So, for example, pre-Bretton Woods, the British pound was the global reserve currency. But that took many, many decades for the United States economy to grow, surpass the British economy, and over time take over that role. Another factor here are central banks. Central banks are now starting to shift. Historically, they've been a big source of demand for dollars, but they've started to shift into gold and other assets, mainly gold. So that's been, I think, the strongest factor in the decline in the dollar is a strong reduction in demand for dollar-denominated assets by central banks. But international trade still remains a big factor of demand for the dollar. In fact, last year, nearly half of all global payments on the SWIFT system were made in dollars. That's up from 45% 10 years ago. So that's what global trade, usually payments happen on the SWIFT system when you're doing global trade, especially with the United States, but other countries as well. And so that is so far not changing, but that could be another pillar where if you have tariffs that are too high, global trade slows down, and suddenly our trade deficit declines. And that's something obviously the Trump administration is looking to do. But remember, those dollars, when we go buy something overseas, okay, from China or anywhere else, those dollars are headed overseas. And what do they typically do? They recycle those dollars back into dollar-denominated assets, treasuries, stocks, etc. So that also will be a drop in demand for the dollar. So what you can see here is there are multiple pillars that are starting to weaken, but not one pillar is going away completely. So can the dollar decline over time? Absolutely. And I actually think it will. But to say it will collapse overnight is, I think, a myth. I think it's hyperbole. It is likely to be a changing of the guard, and especially is not changing much until there's a clear winner of another country that would take over the role of global reserve currency, like happened with the UK and the United States.